Welcome to Gone Fishin'. On today's show, your hosts Bob Kirkpatrick and TJ Schwenke fish late fall pike.
Hi, welcome to Gone Fishin'. I'm Bob Kirkpatrick.
And I'm TJ Schwenke. Today we're up at Key Camp. We're about 170 miles north of La Ronge, Saskatchewan. We're going to be doing some late fall fishing for pike. Stay with us. You got a follower here, Bob. There, you grabbed it.
Right beside the boat.
Yeah, you just followed it right up. Now we're just fishing here with late season pattern for pike here. And we're fishing some weeds, and these weeds are slowly dying.
Oh, I just had a hit here too, right beside the boat.
And the pike are just moving off the edges of these weeds, and they really feed up this time of year in the fall. What happens is during the winter they may eat 10% or less of what they eat during the fall, so they got to feed up a lot now, get their bodies in good condition for when they spawn. So this is a great time of year for fishing, for pike. A lot of people don't bother late in the fall, and they're sure missing some of the best fish of the year. And that's true. Most people think of pike as shallow water fish, and like fish of this size may stay shallow all year round. But the larger pike actually could almost be considered a cold water fish. They prefer temperatures in that 50 to 55 degree range. So in the summertime, they'll be quite deep. I've caught pike as deep as 50, 60 feet. So this is one of the better times of the year for going the big pike shallow.
All those myths about pike losing their teeth and having sore mouths are not true. What happens is in the summertime, when people have trouble catching a lot of pike, is the forage base is at its peak right then, so these fish don't have trouble feeding all they want to, and like TJ said, the bigger fish get down into the deeper, cooler water, so they haven't lost their teeth or have sore mouths. That's just another one of the many stories about pike that are just a myth. But we know they're in here now. Had a couple of follows and a couple of hits.
Let's get it back up over that cabbage again.
Now we might have to try a bunch of different lures. They might want to take something off the surface here.
When you're trolling like this, you don't have to, just let your lure stay at one speed. Just give that rod a pump every now and then. It'll really speed up and attract the attention of the fish, and then when it stops on the way back, it's a pretty easy target, and they'll usually take it. Now the lure I'm using has also got rattles in it, so when you pump it ahead real fast, those rattles really bang and vibrate, and those vibrations in the water.
We've been using some crankbaits and also some spoons, and the crankbait that I got on is jointed, so it's got a real erratic movement to it, and when I pump it ahead, it just vibrates a lot, which can attract the fish, and then when I let it back, it'll actually start to float up, and that's usually when you'll get a strike.
Let's go around this point.
Sure. Got a hit.
All right.
Can feel them tapping at it just before they hit.
Get out of your way here.
He isn't very big. They hit hard. They sure feel big when they hit, but
I'm going to flip out a cast just right behind this fish.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
Kind of went at the motor.
Yeah. The reason for that is sometimes when one fish grabs the bait and starts coming in, another one will follow him to see what he's feeding on, and sometimes you can pick up another fish.
That also holds true when one guy casts a lure out and you have a follow right to the boat. If the other guy casts right in behind it, quite often he'll pick up the fish. I can let this one go right here in the water, TJ.
Yeah. Save him and you some stress.
Gotta be careful with these hooks with multiple treble hooks in them. Between those and all those teeth, there's a lot that can get you.
Okay, Bob and I picked up a couple more here trolling.
Gone. Nope, he's still there. Nope, he's still there.
And trolling's a good, an effective method of locating fish on a lake you're not familiar with, or if you're out, trying to locate fish and what depths they're at. So what we're kind of been doing is trolling along in, S-type patterns, in and out. So we're covering some different depths, but also what happens is the person on the inside of that S, their lure slows down, and the person on the outside, it speeds up. So, good fish.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that, variance in speed that triggers a strike, but also we've located some fish, and when we found them, we stopped and casted to them and caught quite a few more. So if you're out in a body of water, you're not really that sure where the fish are or something like that, try trolling. You'll be surprised at the results. Get those pliers when you're done.
A nice fish.
Yeah. Big, healthy fish, aren't they?
Take long to go back.
Try and keep this one out of the prop. Get out of there. Here it comes.
Geez, it looks like that one ate the whole thing, TJ.
It didn't. Now, these pike do have incredibly sharp teeth, as we've talked about. And we are using steel leaders. Now, the leaders do affect the action, definitely, of some hooks, but with pike, you don't really have a choice.
You see how aggressive these fish are. I'm going to be careful with my fingers. How far in that hook is. He's got it all the way down. Without that leader, he would have snipped the line real easy and been gone. Also, this glove that we're using helps to hold on to these fish. And with those teeth like that, you want to have your partner help you unhook the fish. So, and hold them steady with the glove, TJ. Maybe you can get that hook out. It's in there deep.
I'm going to have to get these jaw spreaders. Now, with these spreaders, all they do is just open the mouth a little bit. Just stick them in there sideways. Give them a little turn and just let them open enough so you can see to get in there and get the hook out. You don't want to let them spring all the way open on their own. If you do that, you're going to really hurt the fish and hurt his jaw. So there's sure no problem using them, but just be aware that you don't want to let them spring all the way open. And this way we haven't hurt the fish at all, and he's really mad here. He's trying to eat everything. Now, just on the side of this fish, it looks like someone ate half of his face off here.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of scars on his side and on his back here as well.
He's missing the whole part of his gill plate there.
A bunch of big scars on his side and his back as well.
You'll find in waters where there is a lot of pike, they'll really be scarred up. They are quite cannibalistic in that way. They will feed on each other and think nothing of it. Especially smaller pike, they'll eat fish their size or try to eat fish bigger than them. It doesn't always work. The odd time on shore, you'll find one pike washed up dead with another one halfway down its throat that it choked on. So the smaller ones are highly aggressive feeders. So just show you the leader here. We're using a 9-inch leader, and you might want to go as long as 12 with some really big fish. And the ones we use are black colored. And part of the reason is that they're not so noticeable to the fish. But like I said, they do hurt the action a bit of lures, but in this case we have no choice. We wouldn't be able to afford the crankbaits we'd be going through here otherwise. So it's a good idea to use a leader when you are fishing for pike. Okay, today with us is Barry Elton. Him and his wife Ann are the hosts here at Key Camps. Barry's kind of been showing us around the lake, making some fabulous lunches for us, and You got a beautiful camp here, Barry, and I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, did it?
No, it all takes a little bit of time. You start out with one cabin and slowly keep adding every year, keep working at it.
I know it's one of the few camps where you can go and have fabulous facilities like you have hot showers, there's laundry facilities if you need them. The cabins are clean and warm, they're very comfortable. And the portage isn't as tough as a lot of people think either. You have an Argo over there that hauls all the gear over, so it's just a short 400 or 500 yard walk to the other lake, and that sure cuts down on a lot of back-breaking labor, doesn't it?
Well, that Argo was the answer as far as we're concerned, but the portage actually gives you a little bit of protection. It keeps the lake more or less isolated and gives us what we call fly-in fishing, but at a little more affordable price.
Well, this is as close to fly-in fishing as you can get without actually getting on a plane. I know that, and the fishing is fabulous too.
Well, these lakes out here have never really been exploited that much, and there's pretty fair lake trout, and our pike is good in the spring. We have some pretty fair walleye.
Now, that is a main consideration when you originally looked at this camp. I know you can drive actually to where the main camp is, but you control the only access to that lake, and then your other lakes where most of the fishing is done is through a portage. So,
yeah, the portage, you know, like a lot of people hear that portage thing and then they get a little afraid of it, but it's not really that bad. And it's on a cold day like today, it kind of warms us up walking across.
Now, you fish mostly in Oliver and Gana lakes, but there are a few outpost lakes that you have?
Well, we have an out camp on Pritchard Lake, but we basically fish Gana and Oliver, and then we have Nokomis Lake, which we have a trophy pike trip up into the Nokomis area. And that's a big, scary lake, but it's really a super trip.
I'm looking forward to giving that one a try sometime.
Well, next spring we'll take a look at that one real close.
now these Oliver and Gana Lake, it's mostly lake trout and pike, but there are also some walleye here, aren't there?
Well, they're in the system. They're more in the channels leading into both the lakes, but we fish them in Cane Lake, which is our base camp lake, and then some in Pritchard Lake itself, and then that leads into Oliver.
I know the fishing's been fabulous here. Like, this has got to be one of the best lake trout fisheries I've ever been to.
I would think that likely the two, between Oliver and Gana, likely they're the two top lakes in just about anywhere.
Well, I'm anxious to get back out there and try and catch a few more of those big monsters. Let's give it a try.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Do you have any questions or comments on Gone Fishin'? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. Send your comments to Gone Fishin', care of Box 421, Cabri, Saskatchewan, SONOJO, or fax Gone Fishin' at 306-587-2603.
Let's see what we got here. Another pike. The thing about this lake, this time of year, you're never quite sure what it's going to be. We just come up into the saddle between a island and shore and picked up a fish on the rocks here. Now, it's not that uncommon for pike to be up on the rocks this time of year either. A lot of the weeds start to die and the oxygen goes out of the water in those areas, so they'll sometimes move just off the edges. And just as we were moving onto this spot, I said to Bob, there looks like a good area. There's a back weed bed here. They had quite a few weeds in it, and they just moved out onto this structure to feed now. It seems this is probably where the feed is.
Wow.
So that's what you want to do in the fall is, find some of those old dying weed beds, just move off the edge of them, whether it be rocks or something the fish can relate to. And we're just in a saddle, like I said, between an island and shore here. It's about 6 feet deep, and it seems to be where we caught a lot of fish today in this kind of depth.
Now, you never know if you're going to get a trout or a pike in these areas right now, because a lot of areas the trout are up in here getting ready to spawn as well.
I think that's part of the reason why some of the pike will move up too. They will feed on the smaller trout. They're sure not shy about doing that. And some of the bait fish will move up to feed on trout eggs as well. So there's quite a smorgasbord up here for the higher predator fish like the pike are.
Oh, there's one. Oh, missed him.
What did you get there, Bob?
Another pike.
Yeah. That's all covered in weeds. And
that's a nice one. Oh.
He's quite ready to come in, yeah.
Boy, do you ever slam that crankbait? This crankbait I'm using is jointed, and it sure puts off a lot of vibration. Some of these fish can key in on the vibration and on the sound.
Yeah, I know that bait I was using also has the rattle. Doesn't want to come in yet.
pike have a little different system than a lot of other fish. Most fish have a lateral line that detects vibrations and stuff, but they also have...
Here's the lateral line. It just runs right down the side here. It's a whole series of little holes.
Yeah, they have a series of pores that run down their side, and also underneath their jaw here is a whole series of little pores, and on the top of their head as well. There's actually little hairs inside these pores that pick up the vibrations, so pike has a little better way, or a little more unique way of picking up vibrations and sounds, and that works when they're feeding in very murky water. They can kind of feel those bait fish swimming by, and they can key in on them. They also have a terrible set of teeth. This guy doesn't even want me to get in there to get the hook out. He hit it really good.
So pike also have, highly movable eyes, more so than most fish. They can see in all directions around them. I mean, they can see up very well. That's, why surface baits at some times of the year are so effective on pike. They probably have the most movable eyes of all the fish species. So that's why we're using lures with quite an erratic action today and highly colored as well, so they are very visible to the pike. And fall time is also the best time of the year for, using the more erratic action lures.
I need another set of pliers here. Oh no, there he goes. I got him in the top and bottom jaw at the same time.
Get him back in the water.
It's time now for Pokey's Pro Tips.
Well, on today's show, we're using a variety of lures for the pike, which we were both casting and trolling. We started out with, some of the very high vibration and high flash baits, such as this buck-tailed spinnerbait. And it's just basically cast and retrieved. We don't usually troll this type of a bait. It works well in the weeds. It'll kind of slip through the weeds a lot easier than some of the other baits. So we started out with that and did catch some fish on them, but didn't seem what they really wanted to key in. Now we did much better on the spoons and actual crankbaits, and it seemed these kind of broader profile crankbaits really produced. And now this one's got rattles in it, and it adds a little fish attracting vibration. And as we discussed earlier, those pike are so in tune to vibration, and it's got quite an erratic wobble, this type of a lure, and in the fall that's what the pike are looking for, as well as this jointed type lure. And you can see how this back part of the body actually wiggles, and that adds more action to it and also sends out vibration. Now, even though this hook doesn't have rattles in it, it does send out a vibration. So the pike key in on that, and again, look at the colors on this, quite easy to see. The water's really clear here, so these pike could see these baits from a long ways away. Now I think spoons are probably the biggest staple of pike fishing. And these spoons we're using are kind of unique. They've got almost an S-shaped bend to them. And what that does is give them quite a lot more erratic action, but it also gives them a lot more reflecting surfaces where the light reflects off them. So they also send out more vibration. They've got that wild erratic wobble. And plus they do, they get that light a lot better, and so the pike can see them from further away, and pike do also have, incredibly good eyesight. So we're keying in on those. And here's just another, a broader profile of that spoon, again with that S-shaped bend in it. I really like these, and I know I've used them on a lot of other species, and they seem quite a bit more effective. And one other thing when you're pike fishing, you'll notice we use a lot is this glove. And basically all it does is, like, when you grab onto those pike, you got a hold of them, and they usually won't squirm out, whereas if you use a bare hand or something, they will squirm out and you can lose them. So these gloves are great. It's just a Kevlar glove made by Normark. Now we don't net a lot of fish. The occasional one we will if it looks like you might get a treble in the hand or if it's an extremely big fish. But these are nice. You just slip it on, reach down, grab your fish. Don't even have to pull out of the water and pop the hook out. One thing when you head up north, what you should take with you too is a scale. It's nice to know how big some of those fish are, and you don't want to let most of them go. So when you take your pictures, you'll know how big that fish was, and you tell the folks back home. You can stretch the stories a bit if you want, but these scales will keep you pretty honest. I guess Bob's going to tell you a little bit about the actual rods and reels we were using and a couple other techniques that'll help you with your pike fishing.
The rods and reels we're using today were the bait caster variety. We have a bait caster reel here that has a very large line capacity, and we're using 10 or 12 pound test line. Now, bait caster has a superior drag system over most other reels, and it's excellent when you're fighting a big fish. Also, once we located fish by trolling, which bait casters are excellent for, we were able to stop and cast to certain spots without changing rods and reels. And the rod I'm using is a 7-foot bait caster. It's a medium heavy, can handle those big fish. Another very important thing that we use today on pike is a steel leader. I have a 9-inch steel leader on here. It's a cross-lock snap from Berkeley. Very important. It's very important to know how these hook up. A lot of people hook them up wrong, and you can lose your lures and lose a lot of big fish. So I'll just show you. This is one of the baits I used today, a crankbait that TJ talked about, and worked excellent on these pike. The proper way to hook up the cross-lock snap is to hook it all the way back to the bottom like a safety pin. And with those big pike and the teeth they have, you have to have a leader. There's no size of line will stop them from tearing the line apart, so you have to have a steel leader. Here's one.
That one too.
Well, that's 3 times and 3 passes, TJ.
Oh.
Both of us at the same time.
Something about pike, when they're active, you'll catch a lot of them, and they are fun to catch. We're not using real heavy gear here or anything, and they're putting up a great fight. So you get pike in this cold water, they are dynamite. It's a little bit overcast today, and pike seem to be a little more aggressive and bite a little better when it is overcast. So if you do have your choice of what days you're going to go fishing and you're going to be heading out for pike, maybe try and pick an overcast day. Nothing wrong with this pike, I'll tell you what.
It's about a carbon copy of this one. I got him.
Got him? That's great, we're going to get back at this.
There he goes. Ooh, there's one.
It's a little heavier.
Oh, it's one reason he's heavier. He's got a bunch of weeds hanging on the line. Oh, and he's hooked. Look at this.
I got one too.
Now, you have to be careful with this one. He isn't hooked in the mouth. He must have lunged at the spoon and missed it, and it got him in the back of the head.
Oh, I got it all the way down.
That's why he felt as heavy as he was.
The pike are, basically the highest order of predator in any body of water you've been in, and it makes them a little bit susceptible to over-harvest. So you want to make sure you do let the bigger ones go.
But pike this size are great eating, and especially out of this cold water. Now, a lot of people don't like to eat pike because of all the Y bones in them, but if you take the time to learn how to remove the Y bones, they're as good as any other fish that you're going to catch. Real nice, white, flaky meat, and they're excellent. And this is about the size you'd like to keep to eat. Let those bigger ones go back and spawn. We're not going to keep any today. We'll let them all go. Ooh, he went back in a hurry.
Yeah, he was anxious. This is a lot of fun.
Well, they're a great fish to catch when you want lots of action, because they do put up quite a good fight, and they're really aggressive.
Do you have any questions or comments on Gone Fishin'? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. Send your comments to Gone Fishin', care of Box 421, Cabri, Saskatchewan, SONOJO, or fax Gone Fishin' at 306-587-2603.
The fishing action's great. It's hard to leave fishing like this. I'm looking forward to that meal too. We probably got time for a few more casts, and I think we'll have to go. All right. I'd like to thank Barry and Ann, Key Camps, for the good time they've showed us. You can't beat this fish. Join us again next time on Gone Fishing.